movies. I could watch movies all day, every day, which I think is because that's the way my parents raised me. They stuck me in front of the TV with that one movie channel on and left me there. But it worked because I was transfixed, and if I didn't have to go to school, I probably would have watched movies all the time. And as I got a little bit older, as I became a teenager, my tastes matured, so I wasn't only in love with watching movies, but I was also in love with the magic of movie making. I loved learning about how films were made, the history of the movies, and of course, I loved learning about the actors in the movies. And I read all of the important celebrity tomes of the time, which meant I read People magazine, very important magazine because it was the only one of its kind at the time, and then for me, as a 12-year-old girl, the ever more important Tiger Beat. Yes, thank you. As some of you, I think, know, Tiger Beat not only had fantastic articles, but it provided free wallpaper. And my bedroom wall had shades of River Phoenix, mostly, with a few Corey Haim's thrown in, for a touch of pink. And I kept up on my celebrity news, and I think this Tiger Beat and River Phoenix in particular might be what inspired me at the time to want to grow up to be an actress. Because to me, that was the easiest way to grow up and be able to marry River Phoenix, which was my true dream at the time. Sadly, by the time I did grow up to be of legal age to marry River Phoenix, he was no longer with us. But that's okay, because my dreams had shifted from wanting to be an actress to wanting to work in the film industry. And I went to NYU Film School. I got my degree in film and television production. And when I graduated, I went to work in the feature film industry. And this is when I really got to see behind the scenes. The veil was lifted and I got to see what went into the making of a movie. And even more importantly, I got to see what went into the making of a movie actor. I still had a little bit of a crush at the time on actors in general, movie stars in particular, but not anyone like River Phoenix had come along. Now, when I first started working in the film industry, I got a job as a production assistant, which is the peon of the set. The only people lower than production assistants are interns, but no one cares about them. And the production assistants were basically, we got all the crap jobs from everybody because we were there just to please everybody. So we picked up garbage and we swept and we did everything that nobody else wanted to do. I was very good at doing that, and so I got a promotion to key production assistant. And the key production assistant is on set the whole time, right next to the assistant director. I was responsible for dealing with background, which was our kind term for the extras. And I would set background. I would tell the extras where to sit. You guys are all doing a great job of being background right now. And I got to work with a lot of actors that way, except of course the ones I was talking to were background actors and they didn't count. And then the other actors, the stars of the movie, they would arrive on set in character. So I didn't really get to know them all that well. But my next job was as a second assistant director. And yes, that is what we call it in America. In Sir Patrick's land, they call it a third assistant director, which makes more sense. But in America, it's a second. And the job of the second is to take care of the actors. From the moment they arrive on set to the moment they leave, they're your babies. And that is how you treat them. There's a lot of hand-holding that goes on in taking care of movie actors. I'm specifying movie actors because I know there are some theater actors here, and I'm sure they're totally different. But with movie actors, you really do. You treat them like babies. They arrive on set, you hold their hand, you take them to wardrobe, you take them to hair and makeup, you take them to and from set, you make sure they don't get lost, and that they know what scenes they're doing that day, right? So, as my career in the film industry progressed, the way I felt about movie actors changed a little bit. When I first started a movie, when I was a PA, every time I'd get a job, I'd get the cast list right away. And I'd look it up and I'd be like, oh my God, this guy's in that movie and that guy's in that movie. And oh, he was so good in that and I can't wait to work with him, right? And then, as I became a second and I started working with intimately all of these actors, I get the cast list and go, man, that guy was great in that and I love that guy. And oh shit, now I have to work with him. Because what I learned was 75 to 80% of movie actors, this is a true statistic, are assholes. Yeah, they're really not that great when you get to know them. And so I started feeling less excited when I found out someone I liked was going to be in a movie, because that meant I was no longer going to watch their movies the same way I had previously watched them. And the day came when I took a movie called High Life. Everyone here has seen it, right? Yeah. Like most of the movies I worked on, it was never released or it went straight to DVD. And like most of the movies I worked on, I don't recommend looking it up. But High Life had a fantastic cast, which sucked, because I was going to work with some great actors. But in particular, there was one actor I most did not want to work with, because he was the one actor left in Hollywood that I still had somehow managed to maintain a crush on. And this is because, one, he was a fantastic actor. He was in Longtime Companion, which is a brilliant movie with a brilliant cast. He was in Dying Young, and he was fantastic, even though the movie's kind of dumb. And he seemed like a really smart guy. Like, he wrote and produced and directed all of these independent movies, and I respected him for that. But mostly, I had a crush on him because he starred in the romantic movie that defined my generation. The movie that embraced the grunge movement the way I embraced the grunge movement. The movie that embraced Seattle rock the way I embraced Seattle rock. And the movie that had the genius to put Mr. Campbell Scott in flannel. It does not get any better than that. Now, and if you don't know what I'm talking about Singles. I loved Campbell Scott because he was in Singles and he was the perfect man. He was idealistic, he was trying to save the world, and he was just a little bit wounded, right? He needed Kira Sedgwick to put him back together, and I wanted to be his Kira Sedgwick. And now, I was faced with actually meeting him, which I knew was not going to go well. So the night arrived that Campbell was going to come on set for the first time. And the way it worked is when an actor would arrive on set, the Teamsters would call me over the walkie-talkie and say, Campbell's on set. And I'd rush to the car and I'd go meet them and sort of take his hand and lead him around. But that didn't happen this night, right? This night, the wardrobe woman called me and said, Campbell is in our trailer? Which was a bad sign, right? Because I had missed his arrival on set. So already I'm in a bad position because I didn't do my job right out the gate. And he had managed to find his way to the wardrobe trailer, which meant that he had a mind of his own, which was not a good thing because he was going to be extra high maintenance, right? So I was already even more upset about having to face Campbell Scott. So I went over to the wardrobe trailer and I took a deep breath and I stepped in. And the wardrobe trailer is basically like a giant 18-wheeler, right? And across this rows and rows of clothes at the far end, I see Campbell Scott standing there talking to the wardrobe lady, and he is beautiful. Now, insider tip, actresses in movies do not look like they look in real life. It is insane. When you meet an actress for the first time, sans makeup, she doesn't look anything like she looks on the big screen. It might have something to do with the 3 to 4 hours of hair and makeup they go through before they step onto set, I don't know. Actors, ladies, all those guys you think are hot in the movies, they pretty much look like themselves. So Campbell Scott was looking pretty good. And I took a moment to just kind of absorb that before the shit hit the fan, right? And I stood there at the far end of the trailer watching him, absorbing him, and waiting for the moment when my dreams of one day marrying him were ruined. And he did finally notice me, right? And he looked across the wardrobe trailer and he did like this double take. And then he fixed me with his giant, beautiful blue eyes and kind of Bela Lugosi style, only sexier, made his way over to me. And of course I couldn't stop staring back at him. And as he got closer, I said, hi, Mr. Scott, I'm Jessica, I'm your second. And he didn't take his eyes off mine. And as my hand was outstretched, he took his 2 big, warm, soft hands, and he wrapped my hand in his, both of his, and he held it there, and he said, have we met before? Now I'm your second. I'm here to show you around. And he just said, I never forget a face, and you look so familiar. Are you sure we haven't met before? And my hand is stuck in his hand and my eyes are stuck on his eyes, and I realize I'm not going to be able to come up with something professional to say, so I just say, Mr. Scott, I can guarantee you if I had ever met you before, I would remember. And at that he just smiled at me, and he had a beautiful smile. And he says, well, Jessica, I can guarantee you, next time we meet, I will remember where I know you from. And I just said, okay. And then he released my hand that just sort of hung there in the air for a couple minutes, and then I was like, oh, right, I'll see you on set. And then I stepped out of the wardrobe trailer, and I just kind of leaned back against it and started to breathe again and let the color sort of drop out of my ears and toes. And here's the thing. I lived with him for a month and a half. He was sadly, happily married, so, nothing happened. And he was also sadly very smart and sweet and funny. And for the next month and a half, the only hand-holding I got to do was in that trailer that one night, because he didn't need me. And after 3.5 years of working in the film industry, I lost my love of the magic of movie making, and I certainly lost my love of movie actors. But the one thing I did not lose was my crush on Mr. Campbell Scott.